Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is going to be a big part of the recovery effort, and he joins us now. Mr. Secretary, thanks for being with us. We really appreciate it. I imagine that the biggest job of the Transportation Department right now is to get the airports in the area back up and running. Some are open, some remain closed. Where are you with that?
Yeah, so the latest information I have now is that both Orlando and Tampa are back open for flight operations, but we also see Fort Myers, Daytona Beach still closed, don't yet have timing for when those will be back online. As you know, a severe impact there, and that's something that affects both the ability to maintain air traffic control, which you have to have in order to have safe flight operations, and we're getting assessments on other equipment owned by the FAA, like the equipment around the runways that allows for safe instrument landing. That's key to getting that up and running. They can move pretty quickly. We actually have mobile assets that can come into play and support air traffic operations when a tower is still evacuated or unusable, but still getting some of the damage assessments, and of course closely watching what's going to happen as the storm makes its way towards South Carolina.
Mr. Secretary, how long, I mean, obviously you don't have an exact answer for us this hour, but are we talking months or are we talking years when it comes to rebuilding some of these bridges that are the primary only thoroughfares to some of the outlying barrier islands?
Well, as you've noted, in some cases, we're talking about the only way to get vehicles into and out of these communities, and there was major damage to assets like the Sanibel Causeway. So that is still being assessed, but we're going to be working to make sure that the resources are available as quickly as possible. We have an authority, especially now that the president has directed this whole of government effort, working in partnership with the governor of the state and everybody there on the ground. We can work with the state on what's called emergency relief quick release funding. And just to give you a sense of the timeline, as you know, it was just a few days ago that that Hurricane Fiona struck Puerto Rico. They're still very much dealing with the impacts of that. And we've already been able to get about $8 million on the move to help with that. So similarly, I think in a matter of days, as we get more specific damage assessments leading to the Florida DOT making a determination about what they need first and when, we'll be there to help just as quickly as we can.
The other day, as the hurricane was coming in, the president warned the major oil companies, don't take advantage of this moment to gouge people on prices. Fuel is obviously going to be a huge issue for all of those people who are trying to get around the area. And I'm wondering, in your experience, have you ever known the major oil companies to take advantage of a hurricane to gouge people?
Well, look, anytime that there are disasters, there are people who take advantage of that, whether it's a large or small organization. Hopefully that isn't happening in this case. If there are any reports of that, they'll be taken very seriously by the administration, and where it violates any laws, it'll be prosecuted. I'll tell you right now, the biggest thing I'm seeing is an inspiring response where so many people are doing the right thing. I just saw a statistic that there are utility workers now from 33 different states on the ground, about 44,000 people working to get power restored. We're seeing the way that nonprofit groups alongside federal, local government agencies, first responders are all part of the solution. My hope is that everybody will seek to be part of the solution when it comes to recovering from what is clearly just a shocking and heartbreaking tragedy that's still unfolding for those who are in the path of the storm.
You know, Mr. Secretary, I've been to more of these, covering them on the ground than I'd like to remember. And I've seen, obviously, episodes of people on the local level selling generators or whatever, or maybe cans of fuel, gouging people. You have contractors who are unscrupulous who come in after these storms and they gouge people. But I've never known, Chevron or Exxon or BP or anybody like that to gouge people. And I'm just wondering why the president would even say that.
Well, look, again, I think the president cares very deeply about making sure that Americans are treated well and fairly, or supported. Sometimes when there's a terrible situation, that's also, unfortunately, viewed as a business opportunity. But I think his hope, and certainly all of our expectation, is that any company, large or small, will act responsibly and will do everything they can to be part of the solution.
Mr. Secretary, the president's been emphasizing since days before the storm even hit that the federal government's going to work hand in hand with the states on this. President said this morning, again, we're going to be with you every step of the way. Do you anticipate the Biden administration granting a special kind of cost-sharing arrangement with the state of South Carolina in the wake of the storm touching down there this afternoon, as they have in place with Florida? Are you guys considering that?
So I won't get ahead of any formal disaster authorities that might be coming down the line. What I will say is that you're going to continue to see a determination by the administration, again, at a whole of government level, whatever department you're in, whatever part of the administration we're in, to try to help. We've seen that with the work that's going on in Puerto Rico. We're seeing that certainly right now in Florida. And yes, you can expect, whether we're talking about what FEMA does, what my department can do, or anything that can happen to help, that we're going to continue pushing and make sure, first right now, as people are still trying to safely survive this storm, and then as the recovery and the longer term work begins, you're going to continue to see that partnership of state and local. It is beyond state, local, and federal. It's beyond the dividing lines of different levels of government. It's certainly beyond politics. We're all here to make sure that anybody impacted by these storms is supported, and supported not just today, but for the long run.
Mr. Secretary, we've just got a few seconds left here, but on the subject of partnerships, as you partner with the state of Florida and its Governor Ron DeSantis, the Massachusetts Democratic Congressional Delegation has sent you a letter urging you to investigate his sending of migrants to Martha's Vineyard. What's your response in the middle of all this to a request like that?
I haven't had a chance to read or assess that. Look, we're always getting requests to make sure that the law is being followed. We're obviously always going to meet our responsibilities there. Right now, our focus, certainly when it comes to this emergency and when it comes to Florida, is to team up and work as effectively as we can to benefit anybody who's been impacted by this storm.
Mr. Secretary, we got to leave it there. Thanks so much for taking time for us today. We wish you the best moving forward through this.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Thank you.